An Introduction to the Pearl. The objective for this lesson: students will correctly answer questions regarding the background information and subject matter of John Steinbeck's The Pearl. John Steinbeck was born in 1902 and died in 1968. He was born in Salinas, California, the son of poor parents. Although he was educated at Stanford University and became a celebrated writer, he never forgot his origins. Growing up in working-class towns, he became an excellent observer of human nature and later wrote about the people he lived around, workers, including Mexican-American and migrant workers. He discovered the harsh reality of these people were often treated poorly and without respect and had little means of defending themselves. As a result, many of the characters he wrote about were down and out, isolated, and oppressed. They represent the struggle theme of his novels, principally the struggle between the poor and the wealthy, the weak and the strong, good and evil, and between cultures or civilizations. These themes are all evident in The Pearl. Origins for The Pearl. In 1940, Steinbeck set out on a sailing expedition to study marine life in the Gulf of California, hoping to find universal patterns in marine species that would help him understand life in general. During this trip, Steinbeck heard about the legend of a Mexican fisher boy who had found an enormous pearl that had brought him much misery. Steinbeck developed this legend into the novel The Pearl. As you read The Pearl, watch for details about the plant and animal life in the Gulf and the many metaphors or comparisons, images, and themes Steinbeck uses which are connected to these details. The setting of The Pearl takes place sometime around the 1900s on an estuary, which is a mouth of a river, somewhere on the coast of Mexico in the town of La Paz. On a map, the long peninsula which descends from California is called Baja California. It is part of Mexico and is separated from the rest of Mexico by the Gulf of California, also known as the Sea of Cortez. Historical background and social culture. At the time the story takes place, the Indians of Mexico had already been under the domination of people of Spanish descent for 300 years. The governing class was primarily made up of those Spanish descent and Roman Catholic Church who, together, kept the Mexican Indians at the bottom of the social hierarchy, or social ladder. In most cases, the Indians were not allowed to attend school or own land. Keeping people uneducated and dependent keeps them oppressed. Although Spanish culture and Catholic rituals were forced upon the Indians, they fiercely held onto many of their spiritual beliefs, cultures, and customs of the various tribes. Watch for evidence of this in the novel. Style. The Pearl is a short novel or novella which is told in the form of an allegory or parable. A parable is a short, simple work with little dialogue, illustrating a lesson or a larger truth, often on the subject of good and evil. In a parable, good and evil are clearly defined. Everything is black and white. There are no shades of gray. For instance, the good characters have names and the bad characters have no names. The characters and actions symbolize certain universal ideas or concepts, and the readers attach their own meaning to these symbols. Point of view. The Pearl is told by an all-knowing, omniscient third-person narrator who is observing the characters and their actions from outside the story. Comment. The reader is told in the preface, "In the town they tell the story of the great pearl, how it was found and how it was lost again." If this story is a parable, perhaps everyone takes from his meaning from it and reads his own life into it. Thus begins Steinbeck's novel of good and evil, The Pearl. It is the timeless tale of the Mexican Indian fisherman Kino, his wife Juana, and their infant son Coyotito. It tells of how Kino finds the pearl of the world and dreams of breaking out of the trap of poverty and ignorance that oppresses him and his family. The violence that follows shatters his dreams, but brings him closer a greater understanding of himself and the realities of the world in which he lives. As you read, consider what meaning you can take from Kino's story.